All right, so in this video, we're going to review area and circumference of circles. So this particular unit, we're talking everything circles. And so what we're going to do is review these topics and then expand on them starting next week. So one thing to keep in mind is the calculator. Um, the pi button in this calculator is located right above the arrow key on the left side. You should be able to see my mouse moving. It's on this calculator, it's 4 buttons below. The pi button we're going to use, and we're going to convert answers into decimal form and then round all answers to the nearest whole number to keep things very simple. Okay, so moving forward again, we're going to use the pi button in these formulas, and then we're going to convert all answers into the nearest whole number answer. Okay, all right, so if we look here, some vocabulary. The distance around a circle is called the circumference. All right, so you go all the way around the circle, that's called the circumference. And if you take the circumference and divide by the diameter, you're going to get a ratio called pi. So how they determined pi back in the day, in Greek days, was they knew the circumference of the circle because they used string, and then they measured the diameter of the circle, and when they kept dividing it, they got a number very close to the same thing, 3.14. And then they realized that this was constant no matter how big or small a circle is. If you divide circumference by diameter, you're going to get pi, which is approximately 3.14. So we have some equations that we need to review. Circumference, there's 2 of them. If you're given the diameter, like in this left equation, it's going to be pi times diameter. But typically we leave our answer in terms, you'll see as examples go how we write that. So again, if you're given diameter, it's diameter times pi. All right, over here for circumference, it's going to be 2 times the radius times pi. All right, now let's talk about something really quick here, and then we'll come back to that formula. How many radiuses make up a diameter? So if we looked over here on the left, we would have 2 radiuses, 2 radii equal a diameter. And so if you notice here in the equation over on the left, it's pi times d. Well, how many radiuses make up a diameter? 2. So if we look over here, it's pi times 2 radiuses, which is the same thing as d. So this d and this 2r are exactly the same. So it just depends on how you want, what you're given in the particular problem. So here we want to find the circumference of the circle. So in this case, we're given the diameter, d. And typically because the line is given all the way across, or a half line is given to indicate radius. So our formula is circumference equals d times pi. This is my pi symbol on PowerPoint, so just bear with me. So we do 13 times pi, and then what you're going to do is in the calculator, type in 13 times pi, hit enter, and then if you do not have a decimal answer, you want to convert it using your convert button with whatever calculator you have. It might be the arrows, it might be SD, it might be F to D button, and you're going to get a decimal value of 40.84. And so I want you to round to the nearest whole number. So in this case, you're going to round to 41. Okay. All right, the next example here, we're going to find circumference, but this time we're using the radius formula. So 2 times 5 times pi gives us 10 times pi. So if we type that in the calculator and convert it, you get 31.4, and that would round to 31 as the nearest whole number. Okay. All right, so now 2 more examples. Again, we're given the diameter. How do we know? Because the line is drawn all the way across the circle. So what you're going to do then is circumference is equal to 9 times pi, and you would get 28.27, and so that would round to the whole number, the nearest whole number, as 28. Okay. All right, the next one, we're given a radius because we have a half a line. So when we plug it in, we get 40 pi. So when we multiply that and convert, you get 125.6, so that would round up to 126. Okay. All right, now in terms of area, we have pi again, but this time we're going to square the radius. That's different than multiplying the radius by 2. Okay, so if you looked at 4 times 2, for example, I'm just making this up. If you had 4 times 2, that gives you 8. 4 times 4 is going to give you 16. And so these two math operations are not the same. So we're going to square it. That means whatever the radius is, we're going to multiply it by itself. And we can use the square button, which is going to be probably next to the 7 key. You'll see an x squared button there. And then again, we're going to round all these answers to the nearest whole number to keep things simple. All right, so in this example up here, the radius is 11.5. We're going to square it times pi, and when you do all of this in the calculator, you get this answer, and we're going to round to 415 because that's the nearest whole number. Okay. All right, example 2. So we're going to have 12 squared times pi, which gives us 144 pi. And when we convert that to a decimal, it's 452.38. And so that would round down to 452. 452. All right, next one. You're given a diameter. So now in this case, for area, when you're given diameter, we need to convert it to radius. So the radius is going to be 4.5 because remember, 2 radiuses equal the diameter. So the diameter divided by 2 would give you the radius. So when you plug this in the calculator, you would get 63.6, and that would round up to 64. Okay. All right, a couple more. So in this example, we want to find the area. So to find the area, we need the radius, but we're given the diameter. So if you're given the diameter, what do? We have to divide by 2. So we have a radius of 4.5. So we have 4.5 squared again, and we'll have another answer of 63.6, which rounds to 64. Okay. All right, the next example, we have a radius of 5, so we don't have to do anything because the formula, again, for area is radius squared times pi. So we have 5 squared times pi, and that gives us 78.53, 78.53, so we're going to round up to 79 in this case. Okay, so that's how you do these problems. There are examples in which you can go backwards, for example. So say, for example, they give you the circumference is 10, right? And they want you to find the radius. So what we would do then is the radius formula is equal to this. So the circumference is equal to 2 pi r. So we would divide both sides by 2 pi, and this would be a great time to use that ND button. So if you did 10 divided by 2 pi, you would get an answer of 1.59. And so in this case, just to keep things simple, we're going to make the radius equals to 2. Okay. Let's do another example. Like this one. Say the circumference was equal to 20 pi. And we want to find the diameter. Well, the circumference is equal, in terms of diameter, pi times diameter. So the circumference is 20 because that's given to us from over here. Sorry, it's 20 pi. And then our formula has pi times diameter. So if I want to find d, I'm going to divide both sides by pi. And so we find out in this case, when we divide, the pi's cancel out, and we're left with just diameter equaling to 20. Okay, so you'll see some examples like that on the practice problems too. So make sure you review this. Go through and make sure you understand this before you try the practice problems, because a lot of people are just rushing ahead, not paying attention, doing the practice problems, and then emailing me that they got them all wrong. So don't be in a hurry to do this. Take your time and review it, because if you don't understand this, because this should be review for you, You're going to struggle starting on the new content next week. So make sure you spend time on this week, reviewing. Okay, and that is it for today's lesson.